to Australia and good evening to the UK.
Hey, how are you all?
Hello.
We've got
So,
our guest Matthew DeHamer here. Oh, we're excited.
yeah,
Very
very excited.
excited.
So Matthew's from the UK, but I originally met him in Paris in almost 10 years ago. I think it was
Oh yeah, 2015.
2015.
Yes.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
Wow.
obviously know people in every country, don't you?
No. A few.
I know a few. Yeah, you do know a few. Yeah, you're right about that. Well, we are just over the moon to have Matthew with us because wow, let me tell you, I love my camera. I have one of your cameras and I love it.
Me too.
Um, yeah, you do. You too. Yeah. And everyone that I know, everyone that I've told about that camera loves that camera. So
Yeah.
we are, thank you to you. Kudos to you, Matthew, because you've hit the nail on the head with helping us with iridology. We do appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. I just find
My
it's one of the
pleasure.
best cameras to take hematogenic eyes with.
Mhm,
I take great photos of hematogenic
mhm.
eyes. And when I recently taught in China, everyone had hematogenic eyes. And they're all
Yes.
so different. Yeah. But anyway, we should start this properly, Kathy. So,
Sure, sure. Well, Matthew, how long have you been an iridologist?
Um, my first lesson in iridology was 2003, I think,
Mhm,
ish, give or
mhm,
take.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I
So,
went to New Zealand and started a naturopathy course, and I fell in love with it. Like the first lesson, I just went,
mm,
wow.
mm,
And every lesson after that, I was kind of the student who was every 2 minutes putting his hand up. What about this? And what about that? And what about this? But my teacher was so good that he liked that kind of backwards and forwards.
mhm.
So yeah, I kind of that's when I got hooked. And
Well, no pun
yeah,
intended, but
well,
it is an eye-opening experience, isn't
yes,
it?
yes,
oh, you
indeed.
Texans.
Yeah, it's
So,
Uh,
Texans. Oh
so
my
Matthew, what
goodness.
inspired you? I know it was probably part of your course, but what inspired you to develop further?
well, as I was studying naturopathy, I was like the course was good, but I was somehow feeling like I was just being downloaded with natural health information, and I didn't really have a structure to place all this information in a logical format. And I came across Prima Ayurveda, like the old version of Ayurveda, which is not what's really taught in the universities, but more in the ashrams and like the pre-British influence of Indian way of looking at health. And I was going to evening classes on top of the naturopathy classes, and that started giving me an understanding of, well, it was starting the process of deepening my understanding of what holistic health really meant. And then the iridology was kind of there in the kind of starting on coming in on the sideline, and I was going, hey, hang on a minute, some of these principles that I'm kind of learning about and are helping me understand everything I'm learning in my naturopathy course, the iridology signs were kind of giving me extra information that was actually really useful. And I combined the two principles right from the beginning, because some of the stuff that I was being taught in the traditional iridology, I was kind of going, yeah, sometimes I can see a sign and it makes sense, and the person is kind of saying, yeah, that makes sense. But quite often it wasn't making sense. Now, okay, I was a complete beginner, and I actually found a health food store that had an old iris microscope. Um,
Right.
it was because there was no equipment available at that time. And so I managed to get a job in that store just to do the iridology, just to have access to an iriscope. And my job, although the shop owner was just wanting me to sell supplements. I was there just to do the iridology, but it gave me lots of eyeballs to look at in high resolution, and then every time my next iridology lesson, I had a list of questions of, hey, I saw this, what does that mean? But I was combining that information with the holistic glasses that I was kind of starting to kind of understand more about. And I just went, okay, this is interesting. I think I'm going to focus on this more and more. And even like when I was in my third year, the iridology teacher was either ill or away or something like that, and the naturopathy kind of director went, hey, can you replace the iridology teacher for the first years who were coming in? And I was like, yep, no problem. And so I was able to kind of start exercising, talking about iridology, even though I had very little experience. But I did have by then over a year now of experience of going to this shop twice a week, doing iridology. So yeah, that was the beginning of the iridology journey.
What a great story.
It is a good story. It sounds like everything was in alignment to put you
Yeah.
right in that moment. That's
Yep.
awesome.
And this was all in New Zealand.
Yeah, in Auckland.
So why New Zealand? I mean, obviously from Europe.
Good point. I was I do this kind of spiritual practice, exercise, meditation thingy, and I'd had a massive like mountain biking accident, and I was kind of going, hang on a minute, kind of something's not quite right. It was like the storm to get rid of the dead wood, and I was studying. I just finished studying engineering by then, and I just really didn't know where to go. I hated, well, I didn't hate what I was doing, but there was no life in it. And I was going, what am I going to do with my life? And through this kind of spiritual exercise, I was kind of starting to realize that something to do with life and health and well-being and like a more important, well, to my eyes anyway, a more important aspect of life was making real connections with people. And then I came across, I knew it was health. So I thought it was going to be either osteopathy or maybe nutrition or so. I didn't even know the word naturopathy. I never even heard about it then. And my flatmate who was studying Chinese medicine said, hey, you should look at this naturopathy thing. And I went, what's naturopathy? And then I started doing a bit of research. There was a school starting up in London, but it didn't feel like it was that serious, that they were renting rooms in another school or university. And then I looked in France because I was living in between England and France at that time. And in France, it felt quite early days, like very small classes and like one teacher for everything. And then I was at a friend's birthday party or something like that. And I was just talking kind of in the garden, having a drink with some friends, and I was talking to this lady that was traveling to the UK. She was the sister of one of my friends, and she said, I was asking her, so what do you do? It's like, oh, I study naturopathy. And I went, what? What? You kind of, I've never even met somebody who knows about the word, let alone studying it. And she took a gap year. She'd done her first year in Auckland, and so we spent the whole afternoon kind of talking about her course and her school. And I just went, wow, this really sounds good. Like they've got loads of classes, loads of teachers. They've been doing it for like, I don't know, it seemed like 15 years, 10, 15, 20 years maybe. And I just went, wow, this sounds like a serious school. This is where I need to go. So I called up, they gave me an interview over the phone, and I was really glad that they were interviewing me, because all the other schools were like, yes, please come. Like, we don't care what you're like, just come. This school was actually checking me out, and I was like, oh, I like that.
Fabulous.
And they said, we're starting, the next kind of intake was starting like a month from then. And I just went, okay, I'll be there. And then I had to go, oh crap, I need to find some money. I need to get a plane ticket, a place to live. But all the doors just kept on opening up. It was meant to be. So
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it is. I love that story. That's great.
That
Yeah.
is super. It's
Yeah.
not every day
Yes.
you move from England to New Zealand to study naturopathy.
No.
No, it was a bit of a strange journey, but yeah.
Yeah.
What a journey.
So yeah.
So Matthew, of all the eyes that you've seen and all the signs that we have in the eye, do you have a favorite?
Um, yes, well, it's a set of signs. The key thing when I'm trying to figure out what's out of balance is I'm trying to figure out, is the key imbalance a depository, malignant, or wasting away type imbalance? And these are the kind of like, it's one of the cornerstones of the holistic approach. And if you think about like a river, you'll have areas in the river where the water's going faster and it will be taking away sediment. In another area, it'll be going slow and things will be depositing. And then there'll be areas where there's tree trunks and things like that, where the water's doing all sorts of funny things.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the kind of three types of imbalance of flow. And my understanding is that somebody that's very healthy has a really good flow. There's little obstacles, little imbalances. And so what I'm trying to figure out is what's the type of imbalance of this person. Now, sometimes it's obvious because the type of illness that they're coming to see me for, but sometimes it's not. And sometimes one type of imbalance, like the root of the imbalance, is a little bit hidden, and that creates other imbalances that could be like a different type of imbalance. So you could have like a malignant type of imbalance at the root of it, but it will create a depository signs. So you may think that this person has a mainly depository thing, but it'll be very difficult to make deep progress with that person if you don't tackle that malignant quality that's going on. So, and the malignant aspect is something is cutting itself off from the whole. It's doing its own thing. Its identity is separate from the host. Like the mafia is like a malignant element. It feeds off the host, and it creates toxins to the host, and it weakens the whole system. And so the body does the same thing. It will encapsulate. Cells will be doing their own thing, but that it can create an imbalance in other systems that will then create either a wasting away or a depository type of thing. So the eye sometimes helps me, or quite often helps me, to go when I'm stuck, when I don't really know where this person is. I'll start looking at the eye more and go, I need to ask more questions in this area and try and figure out. And usually I know when I've got my finger on the right spot, is the energy in the room will change. You'll have that feeling of going, we're going to be talking about this, then, are we? You just feel like something's changed, and then you go, now we can make real progress. So yeah, that's my
Wow, what a deep thinker, hey?
Deep,
Love it.
deep.
That's awesome.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, I think it's time to play a game, Kathy.
We do play a little game. We'll have you pick a number between 1 and 36, and we'll just ask you a question.
Why 36, by the way?
Well, it's
That's as many spots as could fit on her wheel.
exactly right. Actually, this started out like a game of roulette, and there's 36 numbers on a roulette, red and black. Red and black doesn't have anything to do with anything to this game, but it does between 1 and 36. So true to Chris's point, that's as many questions as would fit on my wheel.
Is it always the same questions, or do you move them around?
Oh, no. they're all on a board.
Okay.
We replace them when we've used them.
Okay. Well, we
All right.
try.
I'm going to go with 36.
36. Oh
Wow.
boy.
No one's picked that yet.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I've just got a
Writing here.
box in the corner of my eye where it says 36
Well,
tubes.
isn't that
And so I
interesting?
thought, there we go. That's the one.
Well, now this is so funny that you would pick this because this plays right into what you just were talking about earlier, working in a health food store. And it says, every time I visit my iridologist, she tries to sell me tons of products. She always has the latest, isn't that funny? She always has the latest health food or magic pill. I know that I cannot spend excess money on supplements outside of digestive enzymes and a few herbal formulas. How can I tell her I don't need all of the products she's suggesting? Now, there
Wow.
you go.
That is exactly like the only complaint that the shopkeeper had was, can you please stop recommending dietary, like the free things, and try and sell products from the shop? And
Sure.
I kind of went, yeah, and just completely ignored it. Now, obviously, there are some very good products, and some of those products will really help with us. Like if you've really figured out what needs attention, well, okay, maybe you do need magnesium. Like maybe that is just something that's missing, and you really need it. But so this person is asking what they can tell their practitioner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one of the core principles of Ayurveda is the digestive tract. And so in the iris, that takes up a big part of the iris, the digestive tract. And as you go out from the pupil, you're going through the digestive tract. It's like looking through a tunnel in a way. And so that person could potentially say to their practitioner is, can we first start focusing on my digestion? And so
Perfect.
digestive enzymes, like she said, but maybe what can I start eating more of and what can I start eating less
Exactly.
of in the first
Exactly.
place?
Exactly.
Great answer. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where I would go with it. I would incorporate so much to do with food suggestions rather than a lot of supplements. And I was a shopkeeper for over 20 years, and I advised my clients, please don't buy everything. You don't
Mm-hmm.
need everything. You
Yeah.
won't know what's working and what's not. If you just buy a few at a time, you can see the change. As you see
Yeah.
change, maybe make another investment next month on something else or 2 months down the road. But I would advise them, please do not buy a
Yeah.
whole package of things because
Yeah.
I'm not going to know how to help you if you say what's working.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
Perfect.
if they really are helping the person, they will live for a lot longer, and so they'll be coming back to the shop for longer. So
And really, most of what we can say to our clients is going to be going to be about
Mhm.
food.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% will be about food. And I just think, as well as looking at the digestive tract, just focus on the nurture points.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really try and keep it simple and just, because if you focus on the nurture points, the other bits will fall into place.
Absolutely.
yeah,
Well said.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well said.
yeah.
How about you, Kathy? What else would you say?
Well, I would
If
try to
if you were
direct them
if you
in.
were the practitioner, yeah,
You
if you were the
know,
patient, not the practitioner.
if I was the practitioner, if I was the patient
Yeah.
asking,
Yeah.
I would ask just like you, what are there other things that, my income is limited.
Yeah.
How can you help me make wiser choices through food, through therapies, through other exercise, maybe through affirmations if need be? How can you help me that way? And a lot of people don't even know to ask that truthfully. They don't know, but they'll say, I have a limited income or I'm on a fixed income. I can only spend X amount of dollars. And I
Yeah.
look for those products to help them. But always, first and foremost, it is always digestion.
Yeah.
Always.
Absolutely.
If you don't get that in balance, nothing else will fall into place.
What was the supplement you recommended most often?
For my clients,
Yeah. Was there one
Probably-
that you just had to keep on restocking?
probably betaine hydrochloric acid with pepsin.
Okay.
That was probably
Wow.
that was always my go-to, or a good acidophilus, or good acidophilus bifidophilus culture.
Hmm.
Yeah.
We kept our vendors hot, always reordering and with our digestive enzymes, because that's
Yeah.
I taught my staff to teach them how to help them with digestion. If they come in there and asking for something specific, of course, ask for that too. But if they're asking questions, hone in on the digestion first, and let's see where we get from there.
Great. Yeah, I think in
Wow.
my clinic it's definitely probiotics and magnesium,
Mm,
and maybe fish oil.
mhm.
Mm.
Now, fish oil was always a second or third with me, probably. Oh, wow. Can you reverse things and turn things around with fish oil?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you will see
Oh.
things change.
Yeah.
It's great.
Well,
Awesome.
one of the things I recommended the most when I was in that shop, which was frustrating to the owner, was drinking a hot cup of water in the morning with a bit of lemon and ginger.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And having ginger for some people was transformative, like
Mhm.
things that they'd been carrying around for
Mhm.
decades.
Yeah.
And it was the first, and the reason why was I came back from, I think at the end of my first year. So every kind of winter in Europe, it was my summer holidays. So I would go back, and I think that time my dad was kind of saying, "Oh yeah, I've always got this stomach thing, and it makes me feel tired, and kind of it could get worse." And I just went, "You should try ginger." So I grated up some ginger, and he looked at me after about 15, 20 minutes. He went, "Wow, I've never had anything that helped with that." And now my dad just drinks ginger. Kind of.
Love it.
Well, he does. He's changed his diet quite a bit since then, so he needs it a lot less. But
Yeah.
ginger is one of those things that if I had to go and live on a desert island, that was one of the herbs
Yeah.
that I'd take
Well,
with me.
Before there was the proverbial health food store, there was a garden.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's how grandparents and our great grandparents took care of
Yeah.
issues around the house with their children or with their neighbors. They concocted something and they went right out into the garden to get it. So,
Yeah.
it can be done. It can be done on a budget. It can be done for pennies, basically, if
Yeah.
people will just take the time and make that investment on that end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I think back to when I started studying naturopathy, in my first year we had herbal medicine, and we only studied 30 herbs. We studied them really deeply, and ginger
Mhm.
and garlic were in that. Like it was
Yeah.
amazing. Such incredible herbs,
Mhm.
and they're ones we use every day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, guys, we could almost talk for an hour or so, couldn't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Well, I have really enjoyed this. This is so much fun to catch up with you, Matthew. I think we've
Yeah.
been chasing you for a little over a year trying to get you on this show, and we got
Been a busy.
Hey.
It's been a busy few months.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Everybody is busy right now, and that's good. We want to be
Yeah.
busy.
Matthew's a very busy, amazing dad too.
Yeah.
Lots of little kids.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. How many children do
no-
you have, Matthew?
Well, number 4 turned up 5 months ago. So
Oh, how cool.
yes,
How
it's
cool is
been.
that?
But he's pretty
Yeah.
good. He's low maintenance. He's very happy. Doesn't cry too much. So I'm very grateful.
Oh,
He's-
wonderful.
That's great.
so,
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
Well,
Well, thanks for coming on, Matthew. And I'm going to be
Oh.
back in the UK
My
in
pleasure.
the winter, so I'll see you in the winter, hopefully.
Ah, Well, I'm actually much closer to London, so this time it's very easy.
Ah.
I'm just an hour away, less than an hour away on the train.
Great.
So, yep, let me know
Great.
and we'll go for another
We
coffee.
will.
You know what?
We will.
I'm gonna make my way over there someday too. And Chris and I are just gonna tear London up.
Oh,
Oh,
thank you
guys,
very much.
thank you. You guys have a nice evening. Matthew, Chris, have a beautiful day.
Thank you very
You
much.
too.
Okay,
Bye
All
bye.
guys.
right. Good
Bye
night.
bye.